Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Loud and clear? Okay, perfect, because I can hear myself from behind. It feels like I'm speaking to myself. As Peter mentioned, my name is Prosper. Last week I became a bachelor's graduate, so I graduated last week. So, yeah. And I'm the founder of InCharge. I also work as a startup consultant in Global Startup Award. My boss, Yazan, is also here, and he will be speaking after me. So, we came together, and we are family here. Yeah? Quickly, I want to share a story that I have told a lot of times to most of my friends, but in fragments. I've said it in interviews because I thought, it was a good story to tell. I've said it to my friends when I want to make them feel sad a little bit. But this story is important because what I'm working on today, where I am today, would not have been the reality if I didn't pass through that journey. 3 years ago, on the 29th of 2020, January 2022, I left Nigeria to become a medical doctor. And it's been 4 years now, and like I mentioned, I'm a business graduate. Leaving Nigeria to go to Ukraine was not the plan. The plan was to study medicine in Nigeria, but I graduated in 2020, and I spent 2 years, studying, writing the medical school exams. The first year I got, because the way it works in Nigeria, when you write the exam, you get a score, and then they allocate you a program based on your score. So the first year I got radiology, which is still in the medical field, but I was a little bit stubborn. I said, I'm not going to go. My mom cried, and I was like, you can't force me to do what I don't want to do. The second year I got pharmacy, which was really good, but I really wanted to study medicine. And then my dad went behind my back to look for admission in Ukraine, and fortunately I got admitted. On December of 2021, my dad told me that I'll be going to Ukraine to study medicine. I don't know if I was happy, like all my dream was to be a medical student in Nigeria, but Ukraine sounded like a better opportunity, I've not been outside the country before, and it was really new to me, yeah? I took the flight, I was very prepared. Like the first 1 year of my, career as a medical student was sure, it was planned. I bought clothes for 1 year, I bought shoes for 1 year, I had my school fees for 1 year cash, I had my accommodation fees for 1 year, everything was certain. I was sure, things would go the way I planned. And I know most of you know how that turned out. Uh, while I was in Ukraine, 3 weeks later, I woke up on a random morning because I'm not one to, read the news and all that. I just, play games and study, and that's it. And watch movies, of course. So I woke up on a random morning and there was chaos. I looked out, I saw, white people running up and down. I'm like, what's going on, I've never experienced, that was my third week in Europe, and I didn't know what was happening. I saw people moving with bags. I saw people running to the market, the shopping mall. I didn't know what was going on. I was honestly confused. And at that period, I hadn't gotten my bags because when I flew to Ukraine, I had some baggage issues, so I hadn't gotten my bags. So for the 3 weeks I've been in Ukraine, I was wearing the same clothes. I was, rotating it properly to make sure that I didn't, and on that moment, I asked around, most people spoke Russian, and one people that were friendly enough to explain to me that there was a war going on were able to explain that. I didn't have my bags. And Ukraine, there's a way Ukraine works. It operates with agents. So it's not like Hungary where you go to the immigration and apply with your passport and you get residence permit. You just come in, you give your school fees, your passport, your document to your agent, and your agent does everything, yeah? So within that 3 weeks, I gave everything to my agent, and I called him, he was not picking up, and then I got some news that he has already fled the country. So I was in Ukraine, I couldn't speak Russian, I didn't have a bank account, I only had an European phone number, I didn't have my passport, and I didn't know where to go. Uh, Funny enough, looking back, I realized that I never got to use the train while I was in Nigeria. So having to use the train because, on Telegram they were telling us, oh, there's an evacuation train that goes to Uzurod, but I have never boarded the train. So what do you do to someone with a situation like mine? But I had to summon courage. I'm a Christian, so I prayed a lot within that period. I found the courage to get information online. I found the courage to be on the video call with my mother and smile and act as though nothing was going on. Uh, I picked myself up. That was just me, my clothes, and my school bag. That was all I had. I went to the shopping mall. I tried to get some resources, but there was nothing there. It's so weird. Like, imagine going to Akkad and everything, the clothes, there was nothing. You go to the water aisle and it was just, this gas water. So I packed like 2 bottles, I picked some sneakers, then I went to the train station. I was just standing. And within that period, people are nice, but not in the war situation. Like, Ukrainian fathers were being separated from their children because they wouldn't get to travel or leave the country with them. So no one is in the mood to, explain things to you or tell you this is where this train is going to. But one way or the other, I entered the right train. I almost entered the wrong one. That would have taken me to Kyiv, but I entered the right train. I made my way to Uzurod. Long story short, I found my way to the Hungarian border. And the border, I couldn't prove my identity. I didn't have any documents. So it was a little tricky in Hungary, but I sorted things out because I had screenshots and images of my passport, and I had a friend in Pécs, so I came to Pécs. In Pécs, I would say this is one of the best cities I've been in because I found a good community here. I got affiliated with the church. The church in Pécs basically took care of me for like a year. I applied to the Stipendium Hungary Scholarship for 2 years, and I got rejected twice. So I still wanted to be a medical student. I went to some classes in the medical school, but that didn't work out. Around the summer, I had to make a very difficult decision to pursue a different degree. I wouldn't, or rather I couldn't tell my dad to, find a way to pay. How many people here, aside from the medical students, know how much the medical school fees is in Pécs? Any guesses?
6 or 7,000 a semester.
17,000 euros in a year. That's a lot of money. And I didn't want to try to persuade my dad to do that because I knew he couldn't do it, and I didn't want him to have to tell me that he couldn't do it. Nigerian parents take pride in being able to sell anything, even sell their clothes, to put their child through school. And I didn't want him to face that reality. So I just called him one morning and I was like, oh, I think I'm going to go to business. I had to say this in a very happy way so that he feels comfortable letting me back out of that decision. So I told him I'm going to go to business, that I think I can figure it out. You shouldn't worry. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to put myself through school. I'm going to figure it out. And he was like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, I can do it. And then I did it. Initially, the admission for international students was closed. So for my first semester, I entered the Hungarian program because there was nothing I could do. That was the only thing that was open. So I entered the Hungarian semester. I didn't go to any classes for 1 semester. And then in the second semester, I had to do 2 semesters at a time to make up. So my graduate education is a different story. My bachelor's degree is a different story. But while I was in Pécs, I had a friend named Sam. We were in Santo, we were both refugees. And then randomly, I saw this guy pick up his things and go to an expensive apartment. I'm like, what's going on? I thought you and I were in this battle together. I thought we were suffering together. What's going on? How did you do it? And he told me, oh, I got a job. I'm like, put me on. How did you get a job? And it's like, oh, I know how to code. I got a job as a software developer. I'm paid these 1,000 euros per month. I'm like, wow. how do I learn? And he told me, oh, I have to learn a backend language, Python. I have to learn HTML, CSS, React Native. He was just mentioning a bunch of words. But on summer 2023, I decided to have at it. I was working in one of the factories in the day, and at night I was a customer support representative, and also at later night I was learning to code. I spent this summer reinventing myself. My goal was simple, In fact, sometimes I can record the times I go to a job portal and then I look for a software developer position, and then I look at the skills and I'm like, I have everything. I just have to, watch more videos, do more projects, try more things, and I'll be qualified to apply to this job. I eventually did get qualified, but I didn't know that the job market was really bad, and also not having a technical or a computer science track record in education was a whole different game. So that didn't go as I planned. Fortunately, I did get a job. Like I mentioned, I worked with GSA. I also got a job in the university. And in order to keep my skills alive, I tried to go for hackathons. So I've been to a lot of hackathons in Pécs, but the most significant one was Code Like Bosch. It was in Budapest. This was significant because I met a very interesting guy. His name is Emmanuel, and he's my current co-founder. Before, I think, 2 weeks to the hackathon, we were 5 in the team, and then we spent hours trying to learn to work together remotely, and we built some projects, simple things to make sure that we knew how we worked together. But on that day, we got to the venue and they told us to build a self-driving car simulation, which was completely unexpected, and it was beyond, it's like machine learning. We have to build some neural network, and we didn't have the skills, essentially. So we were 5 in the team, and 3 people gave up. So they just went home. It was just I and Emmanuel. And we went back to our Airbnb. We started going through YouTube videos. We found a YouTube video that could, show us how to do it. We started coding along. We built something. It was working. It was self-driving car. We didn't know what we did. We were just coding along. And we were able to submit. We didn't win, of course, but that situation was very important because last year, around March, Emmanuel called me and he told me that he had an idea that in his class that there's difficulty with students being honest to teachers, and it's causing students lose interest in the course, and it's causing professors to be a little bit blind to what the students want. He told me that he's talking to me about this idea because of the experience we had at that night. He said that, I didn't give up, and he's looking for someone that has those traits to work on this project with him. Honestly, I didn't believe the project, but I didn't know how to say no to things. I just want to do anything, yeah? So I said, okay, I'm going to think about it. At that period, I was working on my 3rd startup, by the way. I'm not going to go into that story, but I was working on a different startup, and I just had it at the back of my mind. But one day during a class, I was in investment class, and then the teacher was, solving on the board, and she paused, and she asked a question. She asked, am I teaching too fast? We were like, no, your pace is perfect. And she said that she's asking this question because last cohort complained on the Neptune feedback end of semester stuff that she was teaching too fast. And we said, oh, it's perfect that you corrected and all that. But I saw a problem in that workflow. Every student or her previous students have to experience and sit through a fast-paced class for a whole semester, and they could only complain about it when they've written the exam. It didn't make sense. And also, she could only update her teaching flow or anything regarding her teaching one semester at a time. I didn't believe that, or rather, I didn't fathom that this was the way feedback worked within the classroom that I've been in for years. And I believe that there should be a better way. Yeah? A teacher should be able to get feedback instantly whenever something is wrong, and they should be able to iterate on their teaching in the same way. So I called Emmanuel, and then we decided to build InCharge. The idea was simple: allow teachers to collect feedback multiple times within a semester, allow students to easily give feedback. Why I said easily was because we didn't just rush into the idea, yeah? We did some market research. I spoke to students, I am a student, and I know that we don't like giving feedback. So I had to find a way to design this system to make it very easy for students to give feedback. And on the instructor end, instructors may not want to read feedback all the time. And also, one thing I also learned is that when these Neptune feedbacks are collected, there is an administrator that has to go through them and create this very rough Excel file for each professor. Yeah? So this is 6 months of work for the administrators. So there were different roles that we had to build for and different problems at each stage of the workflow that we had to account for. So we built the first version of these two, and then we went to my faculty, and then we showed it to them, and they said, no, this is not good. Why? Because we built it as an integration to an LMS like Moodle. So it's supposed to work inside Moodle, but they couldn't trust us enough to give us access to their Moodle, and so it wouldn't work. And we had to go back, and under 6 weeks, we had to build an entirely different system. Of course, we used AI. No one does that on their own. We used AI. We learned how to vibe code faster. We could all write code, but we had something, like we already got an audience, we had a lead within the university, so we had to build something of substance immediately and to present to them. I would like to show you what we have so far, yeah? So there are, I would say, 4 rows in the system, but I would like to show 2, which is the student and the instructor end. So this is the student and this is the instructor. The system should be able to tell which class the student is in currently and should be able to render those classes on the student's dashboard. And when the student clicks on provide feedback, the student should be able to easily choose an emoji that describes their answer or a rating to their answer, and should be able to type. And the student should also be able to choose one of the predefined options to express themselves. If the student changes their mind, these options should be able to change. The reason why we did this was because instructors mentioned that the issue that they had with the current system is that giving comments are optional. And I understand why this should be the case, because students don't like to type a lot. So it was important that we had a way that students could give feedback in less than a minute and also give quality feedback. Yeah? When we built this, some teachers didn't want to use it because they mentioned that students could give feedback from their home. So if you're telling me that the class is good or the class was not good, then, and you are sitting in your dormitory, then how is the integrity of the process protected? So we had to build a new feature. I'm going to look for one of the courses, say formal language. And we had to build a feature that allows the instructor to control from what location a student can give feedback from. So let's say formal language room 29 and toggle this. This toggle ensures that only students that are within the formal language classroom can provide feedback. And when I try to do this, it tries to get my current location, and then it tries to map if I am in the classroom of formal language. To see if this feature still works, the developers here would know. It's a very tricky feature. To set it up, if this was the formal language classroom, I would have to go to the rooms and add, say, another formal language. And I'll rename it with 30. And I think formal language is in the Faculty of Informatics, according to the system. I have to, as a teacher, I have to be in the middle of the class, and I have to decide how far away should the students be to be able to give feedback. So I have to decide a radius, say 100 meters, and I have to get the current location of the classroom. Okay. So I can create this room, and then when I go to the course, and then set it to this current room that I created, theoretically, it should give me access. Fingers crossed. So I should get access to the form, and I should be able to give feedback. This way, the integrity of the process is, secured. Another issue that the teachers had was that they believed that if they had to collect feedback multiple times, and say I'm teaching a classroom of 100 people, I have to read 100 feedbacks every week. So this was a problem. So we added a feature that allowed them to collect this feedback, but if they want to get a clear insight of what's going on in the class, instead of reading, say, the class was perfect, the class was good, they just get one summary of everything, yeah? So we gave them these insights that talks about, clarity issue, clarity concern, understanding support. There are some wordings and some action to take based on the severity of the insight. The teachers within last semester mentioned that, I don't trust the AI. So the AI is reading all these comments. How do I know that it's correct here? So we had to give them some sort of referencing so this is a test course, of course. I'm not going to show a live course. But what this would look like in a class of 100 students is the insight card shows or summarizes what the problem is, and it gives you references of the comments that came together to form that particular problem. So if I showed a class of 100 students, there would be 100 little comments here. So if the teacher doesn't want to read all these comments, he can just read the card. And if they want to, validate that the AI is saying something right, they can read the references. We also had to give a central system where one person can control everything. So there are lots of settings in the platform, and we wanted it to be that the teachers don't have to make a lot of setup. So we created the admin dashboard, and from the administrator dashboard, we can set everything, how many times, which week, should they log in with password, should they use the geolocation feature. And due to the fact that we had the geolocation feature, we could collect attendance every class, and at the end of the semester, we could just give an attendance sheet to the teacher. So that was a byproduct of a problem that we're having. The reason I'm sharing this demo as a story, because in reality, it is a story. When you are building something, all the features that you have in mind, you most likely wouldn't have the time to execute on it because you have to iterate, yeah? You listen to the users, and then based on what they tell you that the problem is, most times they say it so they don't get to pay for it, but when you go home and build it in one night and come back and tell them, your problem has been solved. That's how the system builds out. So this is just for reference. Back to the presentation. So my story is simple. I was a refugee in Hungary, and today I have a KFT in Hungary, and I'm a founder in Hungary. Uh, if, 2 years ago or even 3 years ago, you mentioned to me that I was going to have a project, a startup that I'm working on, that I'm passionate about in Hungary, I wouldn't believe it. But as God may have it, I'm here today and I'm doing it. I wanted to also show my personal graveyard of all the startups I've tried to build. First one is called Pilot. I tried to work on think about Wolt, but works on the blockchain. So you just pay with cryptocurrency, because when I was young, I was very excited about cryptocurrency. I also tried working on a socialized pet marketplace. I don't know, I was feeling the vibes for pet then. And I also tried having my own design agency, which was good for some time. But these are things I've worked on in the past, and they all have their own stories. Your disruption might be your direction. I didn't choose this path. I was pushed to this path. And honestly, looking forward in future, like most of my friends ask me, what's the plan for next year? You just graduated. I don't know how to answer that question, because I'm a little bit scared that the plan I make would not work. So I refuse to choose any direction. I'm open to anything, honestly, so that I wouldn't get hurt when my plans don't work out. While I try to pursue multiple things, I try to make sure that I do it diligently and passionately. And the paths that I'm currently on, I met a lot of people, I had a lot of friends, a lot of helpers, a lot of assistance and support. These are like a few of them. And I wanted to share this to show gratitude to everyone that has been part of my journey. And I hope today my presentation was good, and I hope it inspired someone. Thank you so much.